Just take a little deeper cut here. I've got this guy to support the blowout side of the cut. All very civilized. Looking good. I was thinking that I might go in and take a little annulus out with a larger tool, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. We're going to want this as close to the edge of the pickguard as we can get it without it protruding, so I think it's going to be just fine. All right. A big momentito, huh?
Yes. And we should actually try it with knobs.
Push on it. Where did those go?
I think they're over here. They used to be here. This is not. Could it be this, Ken? You might have.
So where do you want these to point when they're full on?
I think full on is 5 o'clock. I don't know.
Okay.
And you might have to lift them up a little bit so they don't drag. Well, we definitely improved that. Speaking of drag. Suddenly,
What?
it's at an angle and it's coming up here somehow. It's like too high on the base side. Not sure what. Some angle seems to have changed. I mean, we can still get a little clearance if we need it by dropping that screw, but it just seems like it's kind of coming up a little bit.
Yeah. I'll fix that
We'll
later.
address that.
I can fix it.
Okay, let's plug it in.
Excellent idea. That's the mid.
Yeah.
That's pretty useful.
You have it in a pretty good place. I mean, it's
Yeah.
dependent on a whole lot of stuff, but it throws out the baby with the bath as we discussed. But it does something. I can see why a lot of people disconnected it. It's useful.
Yeah, it kind of changes the valve sound in the middle.
Exactly. Volume control.
But replace the tuner.
I'm not sure I can do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Half the tuner.
Huh.
You do.
You know, it kind of works. This is
Good thing.
not the worst thing that I could imagine at this point. At 3 minutes after 4, when I was supposed to be out of here at 4, you know.
Good.
We get a chair. Yeah, you know, I think we kind of did it. A couple little details still need to be attended to. Well, you know, the little pickup angle and whatever.
Yeah, that.
Wow. I don't think Jimmy put the string ground on this one either, did he? So, and it doesn't do nothing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, all that copper.
Yeah, it's not humming.
No, it doesn't hum, it doesn't buzz. It doesn't. Oh, got to get Kent to come in with some epoxy and sound posts. Right?
I think that was Dan's specialty. Kinda cool.
Wow. All right.
Nice, man.
We kind of did it.
Nice, man. Feel the retention on the jack.
I thought it looked pretty good, actually.
Really?
Yeah. It actually just slips right on the right side of your leg when you put the guitar down. So that's where he had it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, there it is. Oh. Wow, it's right. Well, gentlemen, mission accomplished. Excellent. So I just thought I would try and share some of the misery about this job with y'all in case you get tempted to do a thing like this. So the goal was to respectfully, artfully replace a non-functioning electronics assembly, and the Pickguard actually was okay, but this was all together in one piece when I received the guitar, and we saw evidence that had been modified, and I believe that the Bill Lawrence choke coil had already been eliminated from the circuit, and then someone had put in a little plastic plug here into the hole that presumably Jimmy had drilled in here. So we're not sure exactly what was here. I just don't know. Maybe somebody out there does know, so if you do, don't keep it a secret. As I said, the job was to supply the guitar with an excellent sounding pickup that was in the style of the original device. And this pickup, we believe, was made by Dan Armstrong, father of Kent Armstrong. This pickup is in I believe, a Gibson case with chrome plating on it. And you can see that it had a bracket soldered to the pickup case that was designed originally to go up both sides of the neck of some Gibson guitar, I guess. And that means that there was also, this got cut off. This was much longer, probably just as long as this. It was designed to grab the neck and squeeze it from both sides. So we decided that that wasn't terribly attractive. And of course, that sat at the end of the fingerboard and looked awkward, although I have to say the guitar is so beautiful. It's not like you're drawn to this thing, you know. You don't look at the guitar and say, wow, that's a mess. But still, it just seemed like, you know, Jimmy wouldn't have done this if he didn't need to for some reason, you know. So as we've already been through, we played around endlessly with the 12, 28 threaded fasteners and made new screws that were the same look as the old ones. And we sourced this really beautiful solid nickel cover from, was it Philadelphia Luthier? And then we soldered this little trick bracket on the side with my favorite solder, the silver bearing solder, lead free. You can see here, Jimmy drilled the 2 holes that mount the pickguard to the guitar through this block of ebony glued on the bottom here. And one of them had to go through this piece of steel, which must have been a little challenging, at least, to get it exactly in the right place. However, Jimmy got it in exactly the right place. He did a masterful job. And, now that we're going through it and doing all this thing again, it really gives you a perspective and an appreciation for what Jimmy was able to do just sort of with the stuff on his workbench. And he didn't have, deep pockets in the tooling capability the way we do here. But he managed to do a gorgeous job, and it looks great. And it's one of the reasons that it was my recommendation to archive the original pickguard. So if somebody ever wants to try and fix this in the future, rewind it, whatever, this is still intact and in exactly the same condition as it was when I received the guitar. So a couple of comments here. One is, here's the output jack. So we're going to try and replicate that with this little jack that we'll put in our new pickguard. And also, we ended up moving the choke coil over to the other side of the pickguard because there's a little bit more room between the pickguard and the top on that side of the pickguard. And we thought that was safer, especially because even though there's some kind of gooey stuff on this pot, you can see on the top of the guitar, sadly, there is a little mark that this pot made on the top when somebody pressed down hard. Now, as I mentioned in a much earlier episode, the gentleman that owned this guitar for 50 years or so was a very, very respectful and careful guy and, hardly made a mark on the guitar. And so I'm sure he was careful about pressing on the pickguard, blah, blah, blah. What you don't want to do is give a player enough rope to hurt the guitar inadvertently. It's really sad when that happens. And you always try and make it so that, it's hard to hurt the guitar. Anyway, that's why I was mentioning we moved the choke coil to the other side of the pickup. And then you can see the original pots were these little mini pots that were commonly available back then. And there's nothing really wrong with them, but they're open pots, which means that goo and dust and stuff gets in there over the years and can make scratchy noises and foul the inner workings of the potentiometer, which is, after all, a kinetic, analog thingy that wipes around a circular element of resistance in order to change the value of the pot. And then, so we've decided to use these pots. Here's an unmodified one. These are, I believe, made by the CTS company, and we sourced these from Allparts. I have a lot of experience with these pots because I use them on my own guitars as a volume control. And I like them very much, and it's actually almost astonishingly well made. It's got, first of all, it's sealed so that there's no way that dirt can get in here. Second of all, you can feel when you turn the pot that it's a very smooth, precise motion with no shake or end play at all. It really is amazing what they've done. And I have destructively looked into these things, and I know that inside this bushing on the outside of this shaft, the input shaft, there is a little O-ring in there and some pretty correct weight grease that helps to achieve this really nice feel and smooth motion. Can't say enough about how great these pots are. They're wonderful. And then the only problem with them is, as you can see here, they're a little on the too big side for this application, really. And we would like it if it was a smaller pot and we could put them in a recess to try and hide them a little bit, again, from hurting the top. So let's look at Jimmy's pickguard. We see that he He did do a recess here from this area where the jack is, and then, almost up to the plastic binding all the way around. He did it with a handheld router. It's just over 100 thousandths of material that he took off. So it's still quite a bit of material left since this started off, what is it? 225 thousandths. So there's still an eighth of an inch of material here, about 3 millimeters left. And that's fine for this application, not a problem at all. Anyway, we did the same thing here, and I made 3 little separate recesses for the pots. There's the volume pot, so that goes in there, and plenty of room we can bend these down and solder to them so that they look good. And then the other part of this was this pot needed to be modified for length and some other ways too. So in order to modify it for length, what I do is I made this pot chuck, they call it, or emergency call it, for my lathe, my mighty lathe. And it's designed to hold this particular housing, this molded housing. It works beautifully, and I think we already showed you a little bit of this on the lathe, how it works. So if here's the original pot, we cut the threads down quite a bit. All these threads got turned off. Then we also had to abbreviate the shaft. Now this is a split shaft. There's 2 kinds of shafts on this style pot. Some are solid and just smooth, and those are designed to be addressed with a set screw. And then this is the other kind, which is split and also straight knurled and designed to firmly grab onto a plastic knob that will get kind of cut a little bit by the brass splines as you push it on, and therefore sit firmly. See, I did not yank these off to see oh no, I'm sorry, these have set screws in them. So maybe these are round shaft pots, but we're going to leave it alone. Anyhow, this is a really nice way to be able to modify the pot. And what I ended up doing was I turned these threads off, and I made the diameter of this part of the shaft. I made it just a few thousandths smaller than the diameter of the knurled shaft. And so then there's a bushing. Where'd it go? Oh. There's a bushing that goes over this. Oh, and the other thing I did was I put a piece of hard plastic. I glued a piece of hard plastic in the split so that when the set screw bears on it, nothing bad can happen. You wouldn't want to be closing this inadvertently. You can't really tell where it is and what it's doing so well when you stick it all together. So this bushing is a piece of K&S tubing that I've talked about before. Very handy set of telescoping tubing, that a multitude of sizes that each one fits within the other. So this is a close enough fit. In other words, I didn't have to make this tube. I was able to buy it and just part it off because these are good dimension numbers as it turned out. So anyhow, the function of this bushing now is twofold. One is it bulks the shaft up to the 1/4 inch diameter of the internal smooth bushing in the pot. And it also means that the set screw can bear on this smooth bushing, which will kind of crush into the knurled striations here. And also I had to Oh, pain in the neck. Had to also re-drill and tap the set screw hole so that the set screw came out in the right place, because obviously it, in its original place, as you can see, it wouldn't have worked at all. It wouldn't have grabbed the part that we want to grab. So this part turns, and everything else you can see here. Oops. Come on, right. Okay, so just the top of this that turns, right? And you can see that this part is holding still. And what that does, because it's a few thousand smaller than this straight knurling, is that it just helps to stabilize this bushing and keep it from tilting. Okay? So just doing everything we can to try and make sure that, it all feels good, goes together properly, hangs in there, and turns concentric with the pot. Just one other thing I thought I'd point out is that there's, on some of these pots, depending on how you're wiring them, you would like to be able to get a ground from the pot casing. And the only way to do that with this particular, that I know of, where did I put it? Oh. The only way to do that is to use the supplied washer in the stack, and then as you can see, they give you a hole that you can solder to and pick up the ground from the brass housing and threaded portion. So what I did was I took this part and fooled around with it till it looked like this part, and then soldered it in there so that it's, just an integral part of this pot now, and we'll pick up the ground. When it's installed, it'll be squished together and we'll get a good ground that will connect to the pot frame itself, not just the internal part of the pot. Okay? Tell you what, the key to this, unfortunately, is this gizmo, which I understand. I guess you could try and 3D print it. Go for it. These knobs, I feel quite certain Jimmy would have sourced from Radio Shack, since in the early and mid 70s, they were the only game in town for electronics parts, and they actually did a pretty good job of supplying those of us who were trying to stick together little electronics projects over the years with, pots, resistors, alligator clips, meters, all this stuff that you need to pursue those functions. And I looked and looked and couldn't find exactly these knobs, but unbelievably, there is a Radio Shack in my town. Yes, there is. And there we found that they had exactly 3 of these knobs. And I determined that these were going to be close enough family to provide the right look, and with a shiny, stylized aluminum top. They have a little line on them. I suppose we could take that off with acetone. But anyway, that's all good. Oh, and the other thing I had to do was to take about 100 thousandths off the skirt of the knob. In other words, the height of the knob, so that it would go on the correct depth and look tidy, so it wasn't up higher than it needed to be. Okay? So that's that. What a pain in the neck all of this stuff is. But in the interest of getting it to look correct and work right, you really, you don't really have any choice. You have to perform all these silly little things and chase the little problems until they're not problems anymore. All part of the fun. Okay, there it is.